Hi there grade 8s and welcome back to WorksheetCloud Maths. I hope you're all well today and ready for today's lesson. Right, we're going to carry on with our section of decimals and it's our 6th lesson in this section. So let's see what today holds. Okay, we are going to be working today with percentages and decimals and how they relate. I'm sure you figured this out already, but let's just go through a couple of things. Okay, so remember, a percentage is a number whose denominator is 100. And so when it's written as a fraction, the denominator is always 100. Okay, and we dealt with this in the fractions section. So like I say, I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together and figure out exactly how we're going to go through today's lesson. Okay, so if we look at 25%, then it means that it's 25 over 100. And we can always simplify that as being 1 over 4, which is a quarter. Okay, because remember we always, when we work with fractions, we work with the simplest form. Okay, so if we write these percentages, if we look at the percentages that are going to come up just now, what will they be in the fraction form? And so there's 68%, that will be 68 over 100, and we can then simplify that to 32 over 50 and simplify it even further. Okay, the next one, 32%, as you know, 32 over 100. Not very difficult. All we do is we take the number of the percentage and we put it as a denominator over 100. And 89% is 89 over 100. 26.5% would be 26,5 over 100. If we wanted to write it as the proper fraction form, we would go 265 over 1,000, okay, to get rid of that comma in the numerator. But 26,5 over 100, because we have taken the percentage directly and we've put it as a fraction, okay? And then 125% would give me 125 over 100, okay, which is actually simplified 1 and 25 over 100. Okay, let's have a look and now write these as a decimal. So now we've got 68%. We're going to write that as a fraction form as we did just now. And as a decimal then, because we know how to put that onto our place value chart, it will be 0.68. Okay, everybody see that? That tells us what column we're going to put it in, and we know that the last number of the numerator goes into that column on our place value chart. So 68 over 100 is 0.68. 32%, as we know, is 32 over 100. We worked that out just now. So again, it's 0.32. Remember, the 2 goes into the decimal place that the denominator tells us. Okay, 89%, as you know, is 89 over 100. So it's the same as the ones before. It will be 0.89. Okay. Now have a look at this. 26.5% is going to be 26,5 over 100, and it's going to be 0.265. Because as I said just now, the 26,5 over 100 can also be written as 265 over 1,000, which means that we're going to write it as 0.265. Right, everybody happy? Let's look at the last one. 125% gives me 125 over 100, and as I said, that would be 1 and 25 over 100, so writing that as a decimal, 1,25, okay, because we've got more than a whole. Okay, right, now let's go the other way. Let's get the decimal, the decimal, and let's write these as percentages. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write it as a fraction. And if we write it as a fraction, it's going to be 24 over 100. Okay, so then to convert that to a percentage, we know if it's over 100, it's going to give us 24%, because a percentage always has a denominator of 100. And if that is right, if we've got the denominator of 100, we just write the numerator with the percentage sign next to it. Let's look at another one. We've got 0.39, and we're going to now write that as a fraction. So we know that that is over 100 because our last decimal place is in the hundredths column. That will give us 39 over 100. As a percentage, we're just going to write the numerator 39%. Okay, Number 3, we've now got 2,25, and that is going to give me 225 over 100, or 225 over 100. So that will be 225%, which we know that 100% is actually a whole. But if we are looking at things like increase of prices that have more than doubled, then we can get more than 100%. So for example, if you've got let's say a packet of chips, let's just take that, and it used to be 15 Rand and now it's 30 Rand, that would have increased by 200%. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got 0.74, so we know that that is easy. It's over 100, 74 over 100, and that will be 74%. Okay, and the last one, 0.82, is 82 over 100, and that is going to give me 82%. Okay, sorry, the packet of chips example, it's increased by more than 100%. Okay, not 200%. Okay, let's carry on. All right, so writing a fraction as a percentage, we're going to get a fifth. Now here, our denominator is not 10 or 100, but we can convert this fraction to a denominator of 10 or 100, and actually we want it to be 100 because then we can just write the numerator as the percentage. So if we've got 1/5, let's write the fraction with the denominator of being 100, and we're going to get 20 over 100. How did we do that? Because 5 times 20 is 100. What we do to the bottom, remember, we've got to do to the top. So 1 times 20 is 20. Then we take our numerator and we write that as a percentage as being 20%. Right, let's have a look. Number 2 is a half. So here we're going to write it as 50 over 100, because 2 times 50 is 100, 1 times 50 is 50. Write that as a percentage, it's going to give me 50%. So you see, again, because our denominator is 100, we just take our numerator and put a percent sign next to it. Okay, happy. Remember, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to send an email to grade8@worksheetcloud.com and somebody will help you out. Otherwise, go back to the beginning of the video and start watching it again. Right, number 3. We've got 16 over 25 this time. We're going to change our 25 to be over 100. Okay, so we're going to times by 4, which means 16 times 4 gives me 64. Again, we just take our numerator and we write it as the percent. Okay, 47 over 50, this one's an easy one because we'll double the denominator, so we've got to double the numerator. It's going to give me 94 over 100, and that's 94%. So if any exercise you do at school or a test you get and you get 47 over 50, you know that that will be 94% because you double the 47 to get your percentage. Okay, and the last one, 12 over 20, again, you're going to times the 20 by 5 to get 100, and so you're going to times the 12 by 5 and you're going to get 60, and it's 60 over 100. And yes, I know from all of these we can simplify, but we don't want to this time because we want our denominator to stay as 100. If it's 100, then we can take our numerator and just write down that number as the percentage. So this is the only time that you do not need to simplify. When you are converting from a fraction to a percentage, you want it to be a denominator of 100. So we've got to keep it like that. So therefore, that will end up being 60%. Right, everybody happy so far? Okay. Right, now what about fractions with what I've termed difficult denominators? In other words, they are fractions where the denominator does not multiply easily to get to 100. All those ones that we've looked at just now, they are easy. We doubled them, or we multiplied by 5 or multiplied by 4. Therefore, we can multiply the numerator by the same number and quite easily get a fraction over 100. But what about this one? 1/3. Okay, not that easy, hey? So what are we going to do? We're going to actually divide the numerator by the denominator, and we're going to use our little division box. So we're going to, because we're dividing our numerator by the denominator, we're going to put 3 on the outside of the box, and we're going to put 1 on the inside. And as you see, 3 does not go into 1. So what are we going to do? Okay, so first of all, we're going to go 3 doesn't go into 1. And we're going to put a comma after the 1 because now we're going to go into the fraction side of things. And we're going to write there, or the decimal fraction side of things. We're going to put a placeholder as being a naught. Okay, and that 1 that we couldn't use is going to be carried over to the naught, and we're going to make it 10. And if you think about it, that is the tenths column, and 10 tenths will still give me a whole. Okay, but now we've got 10 tenths, and we can now say how many times does 3 go into 10? Well, 3 goes into 10 3 times, because 3 times 3 is 9. So again, we're not finished because we've got a remainder. Let's put in another placeholder as a naught, and we will carry over that remainder to that placeholder. Okay, and we're going to go 3 goes into 10 again. It's 3 times again. So we've got one remainder again. Let's put another naught. And we're going to carry that 1 across. Now we're going to go 3 goes into 10. Again, it goes 3 times. Can you see? We're not actually going to come up with an exact number because we're going to continually get 1 as a remainder. So what we do is we call this a recurring number. And when we write this as a percentage, we're going to write it as 33,3 recurring percent. Okay, remember, we're looking at that there up to the hundredths column, and that will be our full percentage. Anything after that will be a comma. And because we're going to, if we carried on, we would get 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, because each time we're going to get 1 as a remainder. And so our percentage will be 33.3 remainder. 33,3, and that little dot at the top there shows that it is recurring. That means that the 3 can carry on and on and on. Now, if you are asked to write your percentage and round off to the closest whole number, then you would just write it as 33%. If you were told or asked to round off to the nearest a first decimal place, it will be 33.3. But if you are not asked to do that, then you need to put in that little recurring sign, because it tells us that it's 33,33333, which will go on forever. Okay, that comma 3 won't stop. The 3 after the comma won't stop ever. So we can't carry on writing it like that. We need to put in the recurring sign. Right, let's look at another one. Here we've got 1/8. Okay, so again, we're going to divide our numerator by the denominator because nothing multiplied by 8 gives me 100. Okay, so let's put our little division box, and we've got 8 on the outside and we've got 1 on the inside, right? And 8 goes into 1, 0 times. So then we put our comma and we put another naught. We put a placeholder naught. And as I said just now, you carry that 1 across, and 10 tenths is a whole. So we haven't changed the value of the number that we are dividing into, which is our dividend. Remember, I've told you that before. So 8 goes into 10 once, but this time we have 2 left over. So I put another naught as a placeholder, and I carry my 2 over there. 8 goes into 20 twice. Okay, I've now got 4 left over because 2 times 8 is 16. So now I put another placeholder and I can put 4 there. 8 goes into 40 5 times. Can you see that? So now my percentage is going to be 12,5. Again, remember, it's the number over 100. So our 100 will stop here and it will be a comma 5. So my answer there is 12,5. Does everybody understand that? Let's just go over that again. Okay, these numbers, these denominators, we don't know what multiplied by 3 will give us 100. So the best way to do it is to divide the numerator by the denominator. So our numerator is going to be divided by the denominator. We will then put in placeholders to carry over the remainders, and so that we can carry on dividing. And here we end up going to 3 decimal places. This one, we can see that it is recurring, so it's going to carry on and carry on and carry on. That's why we used the little dot. This one ended because 8 goes into 45 times exactly, and there are no more remainders. So that is our fraction, actually, 125 over 1,000, which actually gives me 12,5 over 100. So my percentage is 12,5. Okay, right, you try these. Here they are, 1 and 2. We've got third and an eighth. And sorry about that, guys, I've just fixed it up. Otherwise, we were going to do the same ones that we did together. So now you try these ones, 1/7 and 1/6. And remember our little division box, and then you can convert it to a percentage. So pause the video now, you try, and when we come back, then we will go over what you've done. Right, let's see how you did. Okay, so 1/7, we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator first. So we got 7 on the outside and 1 on the inside, and we are going to do our division. So 7 goes into 1, it doesn't go. So we've got to put our placeholder. Don't forget the comma at the bottom because we're now going into the decimal side. So we're going to carry over our 1 there. 7 goes into 10 once. Okay, how many are left? We're going to put another placeholder, and we're going to put 3. 7 goes into 30. How many times? 4 times, because 4 times 7 is 28. So another placeholder, and we're going to put the 2 that's left over there. 7 goes into 20. How many times? Twice. That's right. So another placeholder, and we're now going to put 6 there because 7 times 2 is 14. So 7 goes into 60. 8 times, because 7 times 8 is 56. And we could probably carry on going and carry on going. So we'll put another naught there, and we'll put another 4. We'll put a 4 there. 7 goes into 45 times. Can you see how all our remainders are different? And we're probably going to carry on adding noughts, but at some point we're going to need to stop. So what will that be as a percentage if we round off to the first decimal place? Well, our percentage is going to end here, so it's going to end up being 14,3 because we need to round off to the first decimal place. Now, can you see the difference here? Let's just write the percentage down. It's 14,3 because we've rounded off to the first decimal place. If we weren't asked to, we could carry on and on and on, and this would carry on going for a long while. But can you see, this is not recurring. This is not where you're going to put that little recurring sign, because the number afterwards and the remainder afterwards is not the same. It changes all the time. So here we need to round off, or otherwise we would just carry on dividing forever. Okay, so 1/7 is a little bit of an odd one, and we will probably always round off to the first decimal place, which will then give me 14,3%. If we were asked to round off to the nearest percentage, then it would be 14%. Okay, let's look at the 1/6. All right, again, we're going to divide our numerator by our denominator. So our denominator goes on the outside of our division box and the numerator on the inside. Okay, there we have it. 6 goes into 1, it doesn't go, so it's naught. Again, we're going to put a comma and a placeholder. We're going to carry that 1 over, and we're going to go 6 goes into 10 how many times? It goes in once. Okay, but there are 4 remainders, so, or a remainder of 4. We are then going to put another naught, and we are going to carry over our remainder, which is the 4. 6 goes into 40 how many times? It goes in 6 times. Okay, and again we're going to have a remainder of 4, and that's going to be 6 again. Can you see what's happening? It's going to recur. The 6 is going to recur over and over again because our remainder is going to continually be 4, because 6 goes into 40 36 times. So here we are going to then write our percentage as 16, remember, because that ends at the hundredths column, 16,6 recurring. So we will need the little dot here because that shows us that that number is going to recur. It's going to carry on and on and on. Doesn't matter how many noughts we put there. Each time we are going to have 4 as a remainder, which means that our answer every time is going to be 6. So it's our percentage. If we are asked to round off to the closest whole percentage, our percentage will be 17%. But if we carry on, we're going to write 16,6 recurring, because that 6 is going to carry on. If we were asked to round off to the first decimal place, it then would be 16,7. Right, everybody happy with that? Okay, let's have a look and see how we can fill in a table. So here's our table. We are asked either to fill in the fraction, the decimal, or the percentage, having been given one of them. So in the first one, we've got 0,5. Okay, so that would be 50 over 100, or we can just say 5 over 10 gives me a half. We remember have to simplify down to the simplest fraction form. Okay, if we took from the decimal straight away and went to the percentage, we would know that it would give us 50%. So that's why I wrote the 50 over 100, because our percentage always has 100 as its denominator. Right, now the next line we've got 4/5. So let's make that a decimal. We're going to multiply the 5 by 2 to get 10, or we're going to multiply it by 10 to get, or 20, sorry, to get to 100. And it's going to give us 0,8, because it will end up being 80 over 100. Okay, or 8 over 10. So that's easy if we just convert it to a decimal where it's tenths, because we can say that double that will give me a denominator of 10. Right, so now we've got 0,8, and we now know that we can add a placeholder to make it a fraction with a denominator of 100, and in that case it's going to give us 80%. Right, then we've got 20%. Let's write that as a fraction. That's going to give me 20 over 100, as you can see here. Simplify it to 2 over 10, and we end up with 1/5, because we've simplified it further. But writing it as a decimal, we can either write it as 0,20, or we can write it as 0,2, because when we write it as a decimal, remember the naught at the end has got no value. So it would be 0,2. It wouldn't be incorrect if you wrote it as 0,20. Just remember though that that naught after the 2 or after the 8 or after the 5 has no value. Right, the next one we're given the decimal as 1,21. If we were to write that as a fraction, it would be 121 over 100. You can see here we've got more than a whole, so we take out the whole of being the 100. It'll be 121 over 100. And then to write that as a percentage is going to give us 121%. Here you can see when you write it as a fraction with a denominator of 100, it's got 121 at the top. Okay, which means that that is 121%. Let's look at the next one. We've also been given the decimal here, which is 0,88. So let's write that as a fraction. We've got 88 over 100. Simplify that to 44 over 50. Simplify it further, you're going to end up with 22 over 25. But right now for a percentage, we're going to go back to our original fraction of 88 over 100. And as you guessed it, you are absolutely right. It is 88%. There we go. Okay, the next one is one of our difficult fractions, as I called them. We've got 3 over 8, but remember we worked out to 1 over 8 as being 0,125. So that will be our percent. If we multiply then by 3, if 1 over 8 is 0,125, then our decimal for 3 over 8 is 0,375, because you take 125 multiplied by 3 and you get 0,375. Your eighths are quite are one fraction that you should try and remember, because 1 over 8 is always going to be 0,125, and then you can work out any number over 8 as a decimal. So as we said here, we've got 0,375, and as our percentage we're going to get 37,5, because here you can see 37 is over the 100, and that would be then 37,5 over 100, or 375 over 1,000. Okay, the last one, we've got 2,140%, that's a massive percentage, but we can still do it. We can write it as 2,140 over 100 because that's what we're interested in. And therefore we're going to write 24 and 40 over 100, which is going to give me 21 and 40 over 100, which is going to give me 21 and 4 over 10, and simplify even further, 21 and 2 over 5. So what is that going to be as a decimal? If we go back to this one or this one, we're going to write it as 21,4. Can you see 21 whole numbers and 4 hundredths, 40 hundredths, sorry. Okay guys, I'm sure you've got all of that. Remember, if there are any questions, to email grade8@worksheetcloud.com, and also if you want to, go back and watch the video and you will probably pick up anything that you may have missed. Thank you for watching today's lesson, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye for now.